We live in a world that constantly rewards the hustle. We proudly say, "I'll sleep when I'm dead," or brag about surviving on just a few hours of rest, wearing our exhaustion like a badge of honor. But what if those badges are actually warning signs? Every single night, a hidden shift clocks inside your mind. While you lie vulnerable in the dark, an intricate biological maintenance crew goes to work, repairing your cells, filing away your memories, and quite literally washing the waste out of your brain. When we cheat our sleep, we aren't just tired. We are actively compromising who we are. From emotional volatility to cognitive defects, that minor legal intoxicant, the cost of skipping rest is far higher than any deadline or late night screen time is worth. Your brain requires this time to heal, restore, and protect your future self. Today on Chris and Jen in the Morning, we're diving deep into what sleep means to you. How do we stop lying to ourselves about self-care and start giving our minds the biological reset they actually need? Let's get into it.
Welcome to Chris and Jen in the Morning,
where self-care meets real life. I'm Chris.
And I'm Jen.
Welcome to another episode where we're gonna dig into something that we all do. Everyone.
Yeah, well, hopefully.
Sleep. We should.
Sleep.
Yeah. Sleep.
Who doesn't love sleep?
Who doesn't? That's a good question. And the reason...
toddlers? I don't know. Remember?
Toddlers definitely sleep.
No, they don't love it. Remember when you were little and you were like, I don't want to take a nap?
Yeah. Now, if someone gave me time to go take a nap, I would be all over that.
Can I please have a nap?
Right.
Yeah.
However, I'm like a 3-hour napper. I'm not like a 20-minute, cat nap and up and running.
I will say it's a lot to turn the brain off so that you can actually nap. So you know that when I am able to take a nap, I really needed it. My body was just like, I cannot go on one more moment. But I would say sometimes I wake up from a nap feeling quite disoriented. I don't like to wake up in the evening.
Okay.
That's not fun. If I wake up and it's still plenty of sunshine left in the day, fine. But I don't like waking up in the evening. That
you
just
feel
feels
all discombobulated.
It's like when you go to a movie and you go in and it's light outside and you come out and it's dark outside and you're just sad. You don't have that feeling? I do.
No, I totally get what you're saying though, because there are times whenever you fall asleep and you're like, oh, I'm just gonna take a quick nap, and then you wake up and the sun is down and you're like, dear, what has happened? Did I oversleep? Do I have to go to? Am I supposed to be somewhere right now? It can be a lot.
I will say though, I almost exclusively nap on my husband's side of the bed. It's like a little guilty pleasure.
Oh,
I like to call it my
interesting.
spot. And
your nap spot.
My nap spot, yeah. It's like somehow I'm getting away with something. Taking a little sleep on his side of the bed.
All right.
So sometimes I'll do that, as I get ready for bed and get into bed, I'll hop in on his side and then fall asleep.
Oh.
And then he'll have to come in and wake me up and move me.
I was just about to say, does he roll you over, or is he like, hey, you're on my side of the bed, move over, lady?
He does wake me up and he's like, come on.
Could you imagine he accidentally overrolled you and there she goes?
But sleep really is something we all do. Of course, that's not an epiphany, but it is something we all need, and it is a part of self-care. The way we sleep, how we sleep, it definitely impacts the chemicals in our brain, how we think, what we're capable of, how we process information. So we want to talk about that today.
And
we're not really going to get into dreams.
Not really. No, we're not.
But
we'll talk about where they happen, but not we're not interpreting
no dream
analysis.
No. Although we have discussed my dreams many times.
We have. That's what honestly kind of led me into this, wanting to learn a little bit more, because the detail at which you remember your dreams is fascinating to me. And so as I was thinking about things that we could talk about, and I was like, Oh, well, like Jen dreams like a lot. Like what is happening in our brains? What is
Yeah,
like
like why do we
activated?
sleep? Why do we
Yeah.
sleep? Well, sometimes I feel as if my dreams are like the here and there pieces of me scattered across dimensions and timelines, and they're just syncing up to experience each other, as if my dreams are like really this piece of me living temporarily in another piece of me on a different dimension or a different timeline. Is that not what's happening while I sleep?
I mean, that's a very magical way of looking at that.
I'm I'm reading the book The Ministry of Time, so that might be influencing my thoughts on this.
I think it probably is a very good connection that you
Might
just
be.
made there.
Might be. I mean, that specifically isn't in the book, and if you haven't read the book, I would highly recommend it. It's a great book. Um, but, you know, I mean, I do kind of sometimes wonder while I'm dreaming, am I is that just different little dimensions or timelines that I'm like joining up with to experience? But
Well, we're gonna dive into those
yeah,
things
like what
today.
happens?
Yeah.
What happens when you sleep? Why is it important? How to take care of ourselves? We will not be talking about time travel. We did an episode on that already.
Check that out.
So go check that out.
But before we jump into this, we are building a community here at Chris and Jen in the Morning, and we would love for you to be part of it. You can like, follow, subscribe. We're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, whatever your favorite podcast platform is. That way you can follow us there, and whenever a new episode is released, it will be on your device for you.
Yeah, come to our website at chrisandjenitm.com and recommend a good book that we should read. We would love that.
We love a good book. We don't promise we will discuss it, though, because we are not a book club podcast.
No, we're not. We're not. But we may have discussed a few really good ones. So as we kick off all episodes, let's talk about gratitude. And I can go first. My gratitude moment this week was just really easy um, to know what I wanted to be, what I wanted to talk about. And um, so, Chris, I think me well enough to know that home for me is like a really sacred place. Um, I'd love to be the kind of person that like throws big parties at my house, but one, I'm not a great party thrower, and two, like m- my home is a place that I feel I can finally like relax and be at peace and not be stressed, and like inside the walls of quote unquote home is somewhere that I hold sacred. And we got to come visit you over the 4th of July holiday, and um your apartment is home for me, and
Aw.
I just have to say, like, I'm so incredibly grateful. I've mentioned before, like, the sound of your apartment door, makes me feel warm inside. Every time I am at your apartment, I feel just so, like, relaxed and calm and at peace and home, and I don't feel that way um, in other people's spaces or spaces that are not my own. And so I just want to say thank you, not only for, always having us and welcoming us and doing all of the really fun stuff, but like, I don't even know how to express the amount of gratitude I have for you in being a home space for me. So
Aw. Well, you're always welcome here. We love to have you. And I mean, my gratitude moment is obviously you and Ace as well. Like, I have reflected back on our trip or your trip several times. Like, we went
it was a
to,
trip for all of us.
everyone was on the trip. But it
I
was so
brought
much fun.
I brought the most.
It was so like, yes, there were some things that we had not planned for.
We
But
did
like
we did a 5-borough trip.
we
We did all 5 boroughs in a weekend.
we did. We really did.
Not intentionally, but we really did.
Correct. Our feet landed in all 5 boroughs. So, and not just to like go around to catch another ferry to get back on over to the other. Like we really did. And
We
it's
really
like,
did.
to me, it was like, as I've been telling people, like, oh, I had friends in town, and being able to relive it, like when Frank got home and he was like, oh, what all did y'all get up to? And I like take him on the journey of all the things we did. And, it's been fun to relive it. And I've thought about the play that Everything Goes Wrong many
Oh my gosh.
times.
That was
Like,
so fun, wasn't
it
it?
was
That was so
so
good.
good.
That was so good. Even our trip out to Staten Island, I mean, that was an experience. Like that was just the whole journey. The whole journey. That was a real memory.
And yeah, I think it created some core memories.
Yes.
Well, speaking of memories, like, sleep does play a part in that.
It
And
does. Yeah. I'm sure I had a lot of dreams to process, all the things that we did, which were a ton of fun. So thank you for hosting us and having us and always making me feel like my home is not just in one space, but all across so many miles away. And yet a piece of home for me lives there.
thank you.
Let's be honest. The world can feel a little hard sometimes. That's why Fabulous Favorite Finds on Etsy.com is here to brighten your day. We are a small, proud, print-on-demand shop specializing in ultra-comfy graphic t-shirts and merch designed to spread love, smiles, and full support for the LGBTQ plus community. Featuring fun phrases and top-tier quality materials, our gear isn't just made to be worn, it's made to help you make a statement. Go out there and choose positivity, choose pride. Head over to Etsy.com and search up Fabulous Favorite Finds today.
So why do we sleep? Like,
Well, so we've talked about like our brains, obviously, a lot this
Yeah.
season, and like
Yeah.
how we are, the brain just does things. We don't really think about it; it just starts doing things. And the irony of all of this is, like, when you think about sleeping, it actually makes us vulnerable, right? Because usually your eyes are closed.
gosh,
You're
my
not
favorite
like,
way to be vulnerable. I gotta tell you that.
but it's like we spend nearly a third of our lives in a sleeping state. So, like, why have we not evolved to be these beings that don't need sleep?
Really interesting question. I've never thought about that. We
Yeah, I
should get to
know.
work on that. I don't know.
Yeah, so if you're working on that study, please reach out. We'd love to see how we could participate.
Well, scientists actually believe that sleep exists because the brain simply cannot perform certain critical functions while we're awake. Like there are things that must happen in order for us to continue to exist in the way that we are, and they just cannot happen while you are also awake. So let's talk about what some of those things are. It's this like the analogy of like a night shift, right? During the day your brain is open for business, and at night the maintenance crew needs to clock in. And so what's it doing while it's clocked in? What's the maintenance crew do for us?
Well, I think what's interesting is like that analogy really is like what I think a lot of us think of a maintenance crew. They're coming in, they are replenishing supplies or cleaning things up. Maybe they are repairing and helping things like connect. But it's like our bodies do all of this stuff. It's restoring energy, it's repairing our cells, it's strengthening our memories, which I found very fascinating.
Yeah, it's actually when you file, like you process things that you've experienced
Yeah.
and file them away into whatever part of your memory system they stay. Your brain is like going through while you're sleeping doing that.
Exactly. It helps regulate our emotions, which you and I have discussed this before. I don't know if we've ever done it on the podcast, but how like I need sleep because I feel like my emotions very easily get away from me when I'm tired.
Yeah.
Turns
Yeah.
out that's a common
That's real.
thing for many people.
That's science. Yep.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yep. It supports the learning process, which again I find fascinating. So when I was reading about that, it's just like, wow, well, our sleep really does do a lot.
And it clears out metabolic waste, which is really interesting, right? I mean, you talk about like things like doing the sauna and stretching and all of those things that help like remove waste from your body that gets created in just the process of living or exercising or all of those things. But sleeping is, your that's why your metabolism actually slows as you sleep, and then your body is clearing out all of that waste. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, and I knew that the brain did some of those things as we slept, but I didn't realize like at what like how much it was doing. So it's like, okay, we're asleep, but are our brains really resting and sleeping?
But the fascinating part is that not all sleep is the same. So there's four stages of sleep, and approximately every 90 minutes, you cycle through those four stages, and you repeat them maybe 4 to 6 times a night. And they're N1, N2, N3, and N4, or REM sleep. And so N1 and N2 are both light sleep. Um, and then N3 is like a deep sleep. It's like you can actually see your brain waves and how they change. So this is like a slow wave sleep. And then you have REM sleep. And so let's just talk through those three different stages of sleep and what happens.
Yeah, so I think a really good way to think about this is we don't necessarily go through all of them in that same order, and some of them you go through quicker than others. So it's not like, although it has like this very process feel to it, it's not necessarily all like done in a nice timely manner, order, and fashion, because there are so many different things that go into effect. So like in your N1 sleep, which is called that light sleep, it usually only lasts for a few minutes. If you have a device that measures your sleeping, you will usually see this as like your peaks and valleys as you're going through these stages. And it's the process of which your body is going into sleep. It's going from being awake and going into this more relaxed state. Your muscles begin to kind of loosen, your
Yeah.
heart rate slows down, your brain begins to do a little bit of
Have you
changing.
have you ever wondered why they call it falling asleep? Have you ever, like, I don't know if this happens to you, it happens to me quite frequently, where you are like just moving into sleep and then you like jerk awake from a feeling of like you're falling. That's actually like a thing that happens, the hypnic jerk. And it's like when you start to actually fall into that deeper that deeper light sleep, but sometimes it will wake you back up. Or sometimes I know as I am falling asleep, and I know this because my dear husband has told me about it. Like I'll start to like jerk like my limbs and stuff will just start to like shake or jerk as you go from like this transition into sleep because your body is like just loosening all of those muscles and like letting go of sort of that control. So the more tense you are, the more likely that you are to actually experience those things. So just, you know,
Things that we get to
food
experience.
food for thought.
So
um
then this N2, so if you consider N1 is like the falling asleep process, N2, which is also still considered light sleep, is where they have found that adults probably spend about half of the night in.
I'm not
Um,
sure that I would be really surprised. I'd love to go through some kind of study that actually tells you what phase you're in. I don't think I'd spend much time in this light sleep place because
okay.
I sleep in a way that is difficult to wake me.
Well, maybe this is probably studies done, and there's always, these
An outlier.
outliers, and it, shocking that Jen would be an outlier.
I mean, I don't know, right? I don't
Not
have any
really.
like evidence of it, but I'm just saying like I don't wake up from, much. And it does say in this outside sounds become less likely to wake you up. So maybe I just am a really present N2 stage sleeper, very present in my sleep.
It could also be that your like your surroundings as you are sleeping are really like allow you to be in this state in a much better way than probably some people can. Like, so in this stage, your body temperature begins to drop, and they do recommend like being in a cooler room when you sleep. And for us here in the city, like in our apartment, we don't have a we
Central AC. Yeah.
correct, and so we depend on a window unit. So one side of the room like will be cooler than the other side of the room. And so there are times whenever like I don't sleep well because I feel like my temperature is constantly fluctuating.
Yeah.
But this is also like where your heart rate slows and you really get into the breathing becomes more regular, and then
You need a bed jet.
a tall bed jet.
I mean, I'm just saying you have a very tall bed.
Yes.
But you do, you need a bed jet. Yeah, the body temperature drops, your heart rate slows down further, your breathing is more regular. The brain produces sleep spindles and K complexes, which are bursts of activity thought to help protect sleep and support sleep and memory, which is really interesting, right?
Yeah, especially whenever we'll get into this a little bit more, but when you think of all the things that the brain is doing, these different stages, these things happen in. And so that's why it's really important that we create that opportunity for us to truly go through these cycles, not just once, but multiple times, so that our brains can do what they need to do.
Now, these next two phases of sleep, I think, is where I think things get really interesting.
Okay, all right.
So stage N3 or this deep sleep, slow wave sleep, not REM, but the other kind of deep sleep, is your body's restoration phase. So we talked about sleep being necessary for your body to like restore. Um, During deep sleep, the delta brain waves are dominant. Growth hormone actually gets released. Maybe I don't spend a lot of time here because I'm pretty short. Tissue repair occurs. The immune system is strengthened. So when they talk about like, not sleeping enough and you get sicker, your immune system actually does repair while you're asleep. So this is why when you're sick, you do need more sleep, so that your immune system can go to work and then start to repair and protect you more. The glymphatic system becomes especially active, which helps clear all the waste products from your brain, which we know is really important in self-care and mental health and long-term health. And memories, particularly facts and experiences, get consolidated and filed away into different memory filing systems in your brain. So this is the stage that's the hardest to wake up from. And if someone wakes you here, you're probably going to feel really groggy for several minutes. It's also the stage of sleep where night terrors happen, sleepwalking, sleep talking. Really interesting.
Think it would also be interesting to know from a scientific stage, like when it comes to napping, like I feel like I heard once in college in one of the classes I was in that you actually don't want to enter these cycles whenever you're napping. You want to stay in that higher
The 1 and 2.
spaces, um because for the sake of like trying to wake yourself up from this much deeper sleep, like you're breaking the cycle.
Yeah, maybe that's why I don't wake well from a nap. I get into that get into that deeper sleep and I'm like, I'm so tired. So then REM sleep is the fourth phase, and that usually begins about 90 minutes after you fall asleep. And this
Wow,
is
an hour and a half. It takes you an hour and a half to get to REM sleep.
I mean, some people, I don't know if it takes me an hour and a half to get to REM. Like because this is where your dreaming happens, right?
Yeah, so the brain activity resembles that of wakefulness in this state. It's called REM because of rapid eye movement.
Mm-hmm.
And so, although your eyelids are closed, it is observed that they are moving around as if we are taking in things. Most of our muscles become temporarily paralyzed. This is what's preventing us from acting out our dreams. And
Yeah,
so
if you have somebody that you're sleeping next to who is like moving around or punching or whatever, um, as some are known to do, that might be in the stage 3 of sleep. But then once you hit REM, like your muscles are you can't move them, and that's because otherwise you would be um, like acting out what's happening in your
Right.
dreams.
Well, and this is where the brain activity is really interesting because our amygdala is actually highly active in this space. So as people have slept and they've done this research, they have found that our amygdalas are highly active. However, our prefrontal cortex is less active. And so that's the part that like helps regulate us and kind
Yeah.
of pull you
Y
back.
Your, like, reasoning, and logic happens in that prefrontal cortex, but the amygdala is that, like, fight or flight, like, immediate, sort of, rescue, um, part of the brain, and that's what's active during REM sleep. Dreams are really vivid, emotional, and story-like. See, this is where I just am, like, I feel like I spend like, my dreams are just so vivid and story-like. As you
Truly
know,
storybook.
as you know, um, it was sometimes really odd, but often, like, I remember them in full detail, so they get stored in whatever part of my memory, I can recall. I must be very efficient at filing memory, during dreams, I don't know. But the brain strengthens emotional memories and makes creative connections. Um, so
This
that's
is this is actually really interesting to me because I think a lot of like the world that we live in today very much so calls for creative problem solving, and this is actually where some of those things happen. And to me, it's fascinating because like we're asleep, and yet our brains are continuing to work on the issues throughout that we've carried with us throughout our day. Which is also why like whenever you wake up, you may feel like, oh, I have a great idea of how we can solve this problem. But also another great argument of why it's really important to get enough sleep in your life.
Yeah, I mean, so I think, two things come to mind when I think about that. So one, that phrase of, well, let's sleep on it. Like really, your brain has a process that it goes and sifts through things and files them and like going through all these different stages. And sometimes you do wake up with better clarity. Um, Also, sometimes let's sleep on it just means like, let me give a break between whatever initial reaction I'm having to something. So if you were an amygdala hijack on a topic, you just need time for it to like, get some distance from it. But then, you've slept overnight and you've had a chance to kind of process through it. Which is a part of what sleeping does. So that's really interesting. And then, the other thing it makes me think about is, that you're most creative in the morning. Like,
Yes.
here you're closest to those thoughts of like how you have been reframing things inside of your mind subconsciously while you sleep. And so sometimes you do have more clarity of thought first thing in the morning. So
Well, and they
that's
actually they've done more studies around like when we are most productive, and that morning time actually our brains are, sharp and ready and all of the things. Okay, not first thing in the morning. You likely some some people need some get up and go, but there's
some of
some.
us may be looking to be a part of the 5 a.m. club, and others of us may not
Well,
find ourselves as
you're
productive.
you're taking that as like early morning. It's
Yeah, yeah,
whenever
yeah.
you get up. It's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
after you've had a good night's rest and so like whenever that is for I would say a vast majority it would be in the
In the
morning
morning.
time.
Yeah.
But that later in the afternoon, like around the 1 or 2 o'clock time, we become most unproductive because our brains at that point are like trying to
Mush.
get through that. Correct. And so they recommend you actually go out and take a walk, or you
Yeah.
go like a lot of things that we here in America don't really do.
Yeah.
To just kind of go release your brain and allow it to process and step away for a little bit instead of continuing to be inundated with messages.
Which is so true. I mean, you think about like I even think about I don't want to schedule important meetings right after lunch.
Lunch.
People are like it takes them a minute to get
Yeah.
right back into it. And so it's just neuroscience, guys.
Yeah.
So what happens when we don't sleep enough? I think this is part of the fun part for me, thinking about like, well, what's the alternative? What if I just don't sleep? Because you might tend to think, well, if I just trim, an hour off of my sleep here and an hour off there, I'm burning the candle at both ends. I can get a little more done in the day, or have a little bit of time for me, or I've got to get my workout in, so I'm just going to get up an hour earlier. All these things that we think are like self care. But when we're cutting in on the sleep, what happens is there's this thing called the confidence illusion. And when people are sleep deprived, their performance drops dramatically, but their awareness of how much it's dropped often doesn't. And surely you can relate to this. I know I can relate to this.
Yes.
I think the most like significant like thing I can think of that relates to this is there were a couple of times when I had COVID and I was just really extremely exhausted. I was very tired. And that required much sleep of me. But I thought, well, like I generally do, I'm just going to work through it. And I was working, fully thinking that I was making sound decisions and doing things that, like, normally I'm pretty practical and I'm logical and I make sense. And, my boss and coworkers were like, you just need to go away, like, go get
Go
better.
rest.
And then after I got better and I came back, I looked at the things that I did, and like emails I sent didn't make sense. Like, they didn't even make logical sense. Like I did things that I then had to fix and like redo because the work just didn't make sense. But I had no idea at the time. Like I thought that I was perform. It's like as if I was drunk or something. Is kind of what it was like, which was like really crazy. And so when you are like that tired, not only does your performance drop, but you actually are like your awareness drops, and so you think you're doing just fine, and you're really not.
Yeah, I mean, it's you're powering through thinking like, oh, well, I'm still conscious. Like, this is a conscious choice I'm making. I'm doing this, but it's like, yeah, you may be going through the motions, but all those motions may not be correct.
Yeah. So they've done studies that show that driving tired is the equivalent of driving drunk. So staying awake for 18 hours, which you think 18 hours, oh, 18 hours, that's like that's like a normal day. No, staying awake for 18 hours impairs cognitive and motor function to a level equal of 0.05 blood alcohol concentration. And once you hit 20 to 24 hours awake, the neurological impairment is equivalent to 0.08 to zero point 0.1, which is the threshold for being legally intoxicated. So, sleep deprivation physically shrinks brain activity in the prefrontal cortex. That's the part of the brain that helps you process things logically. Um, that's our high level decision making center. And that leads to slowed hazard recognition, poor judgment, and then fatigue degrades your thalamus and your motor cortex coordination. So that significantly decreases things like your ability to break quickly. Um, and then what starts to happen is micro sleeps. So I've actually seen this happen in people where they're so tired that they start just kind of falling asleep involuntarily for 4 or 5 seconds. So have you ever been, like, driving on a road trip or something that you're trying to push through that's super long and you, like, start catching yourself? I mean, I hope that you haven't been there because it's dangerous and you
It's
should
scary.
stop before that point. But, like, that's your brain basically saying, we are shutting down. We have got to get a little bit of sleep. So it does this 4 to 5 second micro sleep thing. And it's like your brain's going temporarily offline
Yeah.
because all of these processes that we've talked about happening while you sleep, like they need to start kicking in. The trash can's full and the janitors need to come clean it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. I mean, so my dad was diagnosed with sleep apnea, I think when I was like in like middle school or something, maybe even before that. But I remember like one of the things like in the questionnaire, this was like before, sleep apnea was a huge thing. One of the questions in the questionnaire is, do you find yourself dozing as you're driving? And I was like, what a weird question. But yes, he does do that. Like, because your body is not getting enough sleep in that instance. And so it does, like, that stuff, it does show up in your day to day if you are not getting enough rest.
Yeah, research shows that the amygdala becomes 60% more reactive after sleep deprivation, while the prefrontal cortex has a harder time regulating your emotional responses. So, you know, I know that when I am extremely tired, I get snappy, I cry, my anxiety, which, I already work on, supporting myself to keep in check, becomes really big. I misread situations. Everything feels super personal. The one of the biggest examples I could think of this is in 2016, Ace and I went to Ireland, and we took the red-eye flight to Ireland on, like Aer Lingus, the airline of Ireland, and the plane was, like the seats, most of them were like half the seats, I think, were broken, didn't recline properly.
Oh,
Like this was not like a Emirates experience that, I guess I didn't take you on Emirates, but this
you
was
did not.
this was not even a British Airways experience. We had this was a
It was tough. It was tough.
this was the budget airline experience, and it was a red eye from had flown to New York. That was my first time in New York. Very exciting. I probably was extremely exhausted because we tried to fit in literally everything there was to fit in one quick less than 24-hour visit. And then hop, we were off to Dublin. And I think the flight was only like 6 hours or something, but all overnight. And I gotta tell you, my husband is, we all know, a saint, but I mean, like, really a saint, because I was probably one of the most difficult people to be around on that flight. There was a woman who, I mean, was like spraying perfume, and you know how I am about like scent and stuff. And my back hurt because, I have back problems. And even though I was in much different shape back then, like especially when I get tired, my back starts to bother me more. And I couldn't lean back because the chair was broken, and so here I am, like, sitting up straight, and, I'm, like, leaning on Ace, who, like, is such a saint, but I can't fall asleep, I'm really cranky, I'm whining, and he's like, "Okay, what does Jen need? She needs to be, like, kept cool, fed, and get enough sleep." This is how we keep her
And I've
happy.
only checked 2 of those boxes today.
So thank goodness he was there. I would not have made it on my own. I also think this might be like why I ended up sitting down and crying outside of the security in London after they threw my toiletries away on our way to India, because I was just all like sleep deprived and backwards because of the time zone change. We'll blame it on that anyways.
Yeah, for sure. I find this one is super interesting for me because growing up, I remember my mom used to tell me a lot, like, my nickname was BA, bad attitude, because when I got tired, there was no making me happy. Like, my mom used to say, like, you would come in the house and the walls were crooked, the toilet wasn't on the sitting correctly, like just all this crazy stuff. You would just be mad about everything. Well, interestingly, as I have gotten older, I don't find like I get mad about it. I just get like overly like emotional, like where I have a real hard time like reining myself in and finding that like equilibrium. So one time, Frank and I were on vacation. I had to take a work call, and it had been like a lot. Like there were just a lot of things that were happening. And so I remember I got off this call. It was the last one I had to do. And Frank was like folding stuff and putting it in our bags because we were off to like the next leg of our trip. And I just started crying. Like I just burst out crying. He's like, "Oh my God, what's wrong? What's wrong? Are you okay? What's happening?" And I just was like trying to gather myself. And I finally just said, I was like, "I'm exhausted. I am exhausted. I need to sleep. I need to." And so luckily, like we got packed. He drove us to like the next place we were going to.
Yeah.
We called it an early night, and I slept. Like,
Isn't it funny how we take vacation and we end up just exhausting ourselves on
yeah.
vacation? Isn't that like ironic? Because like I know many times I've come to New York, I fell asleep in juniors at the table. Um I fell asleep at Wicked. But I mean, I've seen it a number of times. It is not like a testament to Wicked. I love it. In fact, this was like the reopening weekend after COVID. But
Well, that's right.
like, I was just so exhausted that I literally couldn't keep myself awake. And so here we are, like taking these vacations, like as part of self care. But like, you might just need to take a vacation to your bed.
Right. Well, sometimes we do. We push ourselves too far.
Yeah.
And I think, and maybe it's like, oh, I don't want to miss it. Oh, I have like, especially if
have
you're
FOMO for
traveling
sure.
somewhere.
I have a
Like,
lot of FOMO for sure. But I do think this is why I like to take my vacation to the beach, where literally you don't do anything. You just hang at the beach.
well, and that's like your main attraction is the beach, and you're
Yeah,
usually
people are like,
staying
"Oh,
fairly
what do
close
you
to it.
do when you go?" And I'm like, "What do you mean, what do I do? I go to the beach. I wake up when I wake up. I drink my coffee while my husband sets up our beach paradise down at the beach with the tent and the covering and the fans and all the things. And then I trot myself down to the beach and I chill there, take a couple walks up and down the beach, find my pretty shells. He brings me lunch. I continue to chill, get in the water a little, then remember that it's got fish in it and get back out.
Yep.
Mhm.
Sounds right.
And then I watch the sunset over the ocean, and it's, every night the most beautiful thing I see. And then I go back in, take a shower, eat the dinner he's made for me, go to bed. And then I get up and do it all again.
Yep. Rinse
And
and repeat.
it's the most restful, relaxing. Like, the only time we do things is when it rains. Because why wouldn't I want to do that? But like you do, you just need sometimes time to go like rest and repair and take care of yourself.
Yep. Well, so interestingly, you brought this point around food, like craving bad foods when we're
Yeah.
tired. I had never heard of this before, so this is
But when you think about it,
it makes total
doesn't
sense.
it relate?
Yes.
Doesn't it feel relatable? Like, why do donuts sound so good in the morning after you've had a terrible night's sleep, but broccoli does not seem to be the thing you crave?
Okay, I just need a point of clarification here. Number one, a donut any time of day, whether I'm well rested or not, I will always think is a good choice. And number two, if you're asking me to compare broccoli to a donut, they aren't even in the same universe in my
I will
mind.
say I don't typically crave donuts because I know that if
They don't end well for you.
if I start the day with sugar,
A sugary carb.
I go on a trip. It's not a good
And it's a trip nobody wants to go on.
It's not a good trip for anyone. But why do you if you haven't been sleeping enough, or this actually I experience this more like I'm really tired, but I can't fall asleep, or we're going, right? And I'm just really tired. Like, why does that cake feel so good at the end of the day when in the morning after I woke up rested, I didn't want that. Like, I could resist that. It's because your body is actually craving the hormones that those things produce, um, so that or the fats, so that it can actually burn those, like, types of calories instead of sleeping. So it gives you energy. It's basically what I'm ineloquently trying to say. Also, your "I'm hungry" hormone goes up when you don't get enough sleep, and your "I'm full" hormone goes down. So leptin is the hormone that gets excreted in your body to tell your body like you're full, and you have less of that when you are sleep deprived.
Interesting.
And ghrelin is, I think I'm saying that right. Ghrelin is the hormone that tells you that hey, you're hungry, you need to eat. And so that hormone increases when you're really tired. And the reason that your body is increasing that hormone when you're tired is because it's telling you, like, you need to get calories for me to burn. And your body also wants those high fat, high sugar foods because those it can very quickly turn into like energy,
Yeah.
because you're tired. You don't
Right.
have any reserves of energy, right? I mean, you may have plenty of reserves, but you don't have any reserves that can be quickly converted,
Processed. Yeah.
right? And so your body's just trying to very efficiently turn food into energy to keep you moving. So it all comes back to the science of it
I
all,
was
right?
just about to say it's so interesting that like of all the things like that we just talked about, our ability to regulate our emotions, our ability to actually function amongst the living, amongst the awake.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Ace and I have been on many road trips, many long road trips.
I know y'all drove all the way here one time.
Yeah, he's great at that. And it's something that he's always said to me is like, well, if I'm not going to sleep, then I need to stop and get something to eat so that I can continue being awake and moving on because I need to have some kind of energy to keep me
Yeah, keep
moving.
going.
I think it's also like the whole analogy behind the Snickers commercials,
You're
like
not you when you're hungry.
yeah, but like you just need a little something that's got that the fat and the sugar and with fat and sugar I think you should always have protein otherwise you like tend to like spike. um, but it's science. That's your body craving things in lieu of sleep. If you're not going to sleep you need to give me something to burn.
Yeah.
um
Like we become worse versions of ourselves without really even realizing that. And not like worse in
yeah.
the like a negative type sense, but like worse in the we have a hard time starting to regulate all of those things.
Yeah, and then
Um,
I mean, gosh, you start eating the sugar without the other stuff, and then you're like on a blood sugar trip, and I mean, it all just goes south.
yeah.
So
So sleep is important.
sleep is important. It also builds memories. So we talked a little bit about this, but the different stages of sleep contribute to building memories in different ways. So when you're in this N3 deep sleep, that's like facts and learning and vocabulary and long-term memory storage. And when you're in REM sleep, that's where the creativity, emotional processing, pattern recognition, problem solving. I have actually like had challenges at work that I've been trying to work through that I've literally like solved in my sleep. There was like a report thing that we couldn't get to work and I was like dreaming about it for like 3 nights in a row and then like I dreamed through the solution and woke up and went into work and I was like I know how to fix this now and
Yeah.
fixed it.
Well, and that's like that goes to that problem solving, actually creativity as well, because it's your brain being able to make those connections that maybe you in your waking time, like your brain can't process that much information all coming at you one time. I love the analogy of this. It's like think of the deep sleep as like saving the files while our REM sleep really organizes it into nice, neat folders and can sometimes actually create entirely new connections for us. So it is really important that
Yeah.
we get that sleep. Interestingly enough, whenever we are in um, states like where we're not really having to think super complicated. So for me, it's like doing laundry. To me, my mind can wander. People have shower thoughts, like all of these things. Like it moves your brain into a different processing way, and it also allows you to creative problem solving, pattern recognition, like all of that stuff, your brain can actually move into those while you are awake. But it's important that it's not like a overly stimulated thing that you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, anyone ever told you that your mind is dirty?
Yes, but I don't think because they're seeing the cobwebs in the corners.
Well, the next time they say it, you actually can say, we all have dirty minds because your brain creates waste products just by being alive. I'm not sure if that'll make you the most popular person in the room, but
Look, fun facts. That's what we're bringing to you, folks. Fun
fun
facts.
facts. During sleep, um, or deep sleep, brain cells actually shrink slightly, and it creates these tiny little channels that allow your cerebrospinal fluid to rush through and flush out all that metabolic waste inside of your brain, which is like really interesting. It's like a dishwasher cycle for your brain.
I don't know if I ever learned this in school, and if I did not retain it.
You
But
were like
this to me is
glazed over. It
this is
probably was
fascinating
right
to
after
me.
lunch. Did you have science right
Probably.
after lunch? Probably.
Who knows? I can't remember that far back.
When you keep cheating yourself out of the deep sleep, it's like you never take the trash out.
Yeah, that's so
So,
true.
it's you, they say a clean house is a clean mind. Well, not if it's at the expense of sleep.
Right. Well, and I do think that that's like, I knew that sleep was important. We've all heard the saying like, oh, well, I guess I gave those brain cells up for something else. But like, it apparently really does happen. Like these
Yeah.
things, our brain is actually cleaning itself and helping like refine it and make it sharper, better. But you have to get enough sleep to allow it to do those things.
It is also sometimes why you start to feel really tired after you've experienced an overwhelming situation, or something that is emotionally overwhelming. Your brain needs you to sleep so that it can start clearing up what's going on inside of your mind, and like taking out the trash and making space for what you need to process. So um researchers are studying whether reduced sleep over many years may actually contribute to buildup of proteins associated with conditions like Alzheimer's disease. Um, and it's an active area of research, but it does underscore how important deep sleep appears to be for your long term brain health. And like, this is one of those things that if you ignore it, and then when it starts to impact you, decide, okay, now it's time. Like
Yeah.
it might be too late to prevent some of those things. So we definitely know that getting enough sleep now is important to, your future self,
Right. Exactly.
10, 20 years from now.
Well, and I think that's what's really important and why I wanted us to talk about this is I was looking into some things because like wow, like I did not realize how much our brains were doing while we slept and yet how easily we do allow things to encroach on our sleeping time. Like, oh, I
Well, we
want to wake up to
do.
get to that workout class. Okay, let's be clear. I doubt I have ever used that phrase
Just
before.
really got to get up early to get to that workout class.
More like, oh, I'll get up early and, respond to emails or, do whatever it is, like insert whatever. But like that actually can be a disservice for you in the long term.
It is. It totally is. And, you hear people say, well, I'm just going to catch up on sleep over the weekend. You actually never really fully catch up on sleep because the brain cleansing mechanisms and the cellular restoration, they're time locked to the circadian biology. It's not just like this cumulative hourly deficit clock that you can then like sleep off later.
Catch up on.
And so neuroscience actually shows that lost deep sleep and damaged neural connections cannot be instantly reversed by simply sleeping longer later. Yeah, the brain's inability to simply bank or recover lost rest. Like there's several neuroscientific realities behind it. So one of them is lymphatic wash cycle. Sounds a lot like the dishwasher analogy, right? But the glymphatic wash cycle is what happens during deep non-REM sleep. So that N3.
N3, yeah.
It's where the brain actively flushes out that metabolic waste we talked about, like the amyloid beta is one of those those forms of metabolic waste, via pulses of that cerebrospinal fluid. And missing the window means accumulated cellular debris that can cause immediate attention lapses. So your brain can't compress this multi-hour nightly maintenance routine into single sleep-in sessions. Because remember, we talked about like those cycles of sleep occurring in these like 90-minute windows. So if you just like sleep in an extra hour, like you're not getting enough of those
Cycles and
glymphatic wash cycles to
yeah.
happen.
Well, it's interesting because they say that you should have like 4 to 6 of those in any nighttime session or sleep sessions. So that's interesting that if you have to go through it enough times for it to like really clean. So if you put in a dirty plate into the quick rinse
Yeah,
cycle, it
I
may not
wish we had a
happen.
super wash cycle, but apparently, like we haven't figured that out yet. So it talked about circadian rhythm. Circadian misalignment is something that happens when you try and catch up on sleep. Your body actually, whether you have dancing rhythm or not, your body is actually tied to rhythm, and we think about like all things in our world that surrounds us have some sort of rhythm to them. The moon and the tides are connected together, right? Everything is going on a pulse or a rhythm. Your heart beats at a rhythm or a pulse. So the circadian misalignment happens when you try and you make up for sleep. And so sleeping in on the weekends to compensate for your work week throws off that master biological clock. And if you want the technical term for that, that's the suprachiasmatic nucleus. I don't know if I
Yes. Mm-hmm.
the suprachiasmatic nucleus. Just throw that one out at the dinner table.
I don't think I learned that in school.
But your body's designed to release specific hormones like melatonin and its opposite serotonin at set times. And so shifting your sleep schedule actually degrades your overall quality. So what happens with melatonin and serotonin, those balancing hormones, is the melatonin gets released. So like you're producing it and it gets released so that you sleep. And then while you sleep, you're building serotonin.
Yeah.
And then that serotonin helps you feel, joy and happiness and like keeps you from being depressed. And then while you have enough serotonin, you're producing melatonin. And so without the serotonin, you cannot produce melatonin. Without the melatonin, you cannot produce serotonin. And that's where the imbalance happens. And so when don't keep a regular rhythm of that, all of your hormones get disrupted. So, gosh, I mean, we wonder why such a high percentage of people are on medication to help balance their melatonin or serotonin. I'm not saying that this is the only thing that's going on, but certainly we do not support a consistent sleep cycle. And so how can your body regulate itself? It just can't.
Well,
Um,
and I mean, unfortunately, we live in a society where it's like, okay, here, pop this, take this, it'll help. And so I know that recently, I would say within the last decade, like taking melatonin has actually become a very popular thing to do. And they're actually doing studies and research to see like how that is impacting us, our body's ability to actually produce those on its own. Because
yeah, and
if we're
there
getting
are
external,
actually supplements you can take that help you produce the right amount of melatonin as opposed to just being a melatonin replacement. And I know there's a lot of research behind that as well that obviously is not supported by big pharma. But I'm not saying there aren't other reasons for those hormones to be off, because there absolutely are. But just, how massive the epidemic is of individuals who aren't getting enough balance there in their serotonin and melatonin, that absolutely plays a role.
feels like a good time to remind people we are not doctors, we are not psychologists, we are just living our lives and
Just little
reading
things
and
that you
learning
learn
ourselves.
and pick up in our own journey. But you actually don't have to be a doctor to educate yourself on the hormones that are within your own body. So I think that's one of the most important like things that we can remember, is that we have agency of our own selves, and we should be asking those critical questions so we can find the right way to care for ourselves. So one of the other things that happens is there's this irreversible cellular pruning. So prolonged sleep deprivation causes microglial cells to become hyperactive. And that actually leads them to break down healthy synapses, those like neural connections that happen, instead of just the damaged ones. And this
Okay.
degenerative process, which mimics early stage Alzheimer's, actually cannot be undone just by getting like 12 hours of sleep on a Sunday. So if you if you don't sleep enough and you're not getting enough sleep, then your healthy synapses are getting damaged, and that takes like time to repair. Um, and it can't just be like in an extra, few hours of sleep on the weekend. I think that's really, really important to note, that like just living a lifestyle where you say, well, I'll sleep like 4 hours during the week and,
Yeah.
8 hours on the weekend. Like
Catch
that's
up on the weekend.
just not going to work.
Well, it's also interesting that like they've put those connections together with the research around Alzheimer's. Like that does lead one to believe there could be some connections.
Absolutely. And then there's receptor sensitization. Try to say that 3 times fast. So sleep debt builds up this adenosine in the brain, and that creates this sleep pressure. And while a long nap or an early bedtime can reduce this pressure, the structural synaptic brain damage to brain regions responsible for memory, like your hippocampus, and emotional regulation, like your amygdala, require consistent long term restorative rest. And so, if you're not getting that consistent long term restorative rest, your amygdala and your hippocampus just aren't operating as well. So, they
It's like
talk
they're
about
not regulating.
yeah, they talk about like cram sessions for tests and stuff. And like I don't know if you were ever told this, but I recall getting advice from my professors like you actually versus a cram session before a big test, the best thing you can do for yourself is just sleep because you actually physically cannot tap into your memory recall as well when you are sleep deprived.
Correct. Well,
Um,
that goes back to like needing to be in that deep sleep N3 stage where the things are being hard coded, the facts, the learning, the vocabulary, all the things you're going to need to be able to recall, versus just putting it into like a temporary storage that, you're one inconvenience away from losing it all.
Yeah, so procrastinators beware. If you, maybe like me, tend to wait until the very last minute to do something because there is nothing quite so motivating as a deadline, just rapidly approaching. Um, if it is something that's like cramming for a test, you actually have to give yourself the time after you study to sleep properly so that you can file all those things you learned, which is really, really interesting.
Yeah. So now like we know sleep is very important, all of the different cycles and what's happening within our brains and the negative things that can come out of it. But I also find it really interesting, these self-care lies that we tell ourselves.
Like what?
Like, we have been known as a society here in the US to celebrate people who are willing to sacrifice things. And sleep is one of the things that a lot of people will sacrifice in hopes of like getting something done.
Yeah, we call it
It's rewarding
hustle.
that, right. It's rewarding that hustle mentality. And it's
Mhm.
like, but at what risk or damage are you doing that? So things like saying, oh, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Like, I know I've said that before.
Mhm. Oh,
I've
or
heard
the
people
people
say it.
that brag about how they only need like 5 hours of sleep.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, what if those aren't really badges of honor, but they're warning signs?
Right. And I do think like there has been studies done that show like not everyone needs the same amount of sleep because we do go through those cycles differently, like each person, the environment around us, all of that stuff. But it's important that we realize we need enough sleep that allows those 4 to 6 cycles for our brains to truly be optimized to work at the best they can.
Yeah, just remind yourself every time in your head you're going, oh, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Oh, I only need 5 hours of sleep. Follow those up with, like, oh, I never charge my phone, or oh, I don't take out the trash. I just let it pile up.
Right. Like, is that realistic? Do you really let those things happen? Like, how many of us really walk around with an uncharged phone? Okay, I kind
Okay.
of do
Okay.
because, like,
I
mine,
would, except for my husband, make sure that my phone is always charged because, he is amazing and I think has a
he
fear
has
of me
every
not
gadget.
being able to get a hold of him
Yeah.
in times of need. Um, but
But it's the
But
same, like, it's the same thing. We wouldn't
yeah,
do that stuff. We don't
yeah.
let the trash pile up. We don't walk around with uncharged cell phones. And so our brains, we should be thinking about them in that manner as well.
Yeah. Okay. So what if I'm trying to get better sleep and I just like can't? What do I do? And I guess the first thing I would do is ask, like, how much are you really trying? Are you it's like how I have shared before. Early in my career, I kept searching for the secret to work-life balance. And it wasn't until, much later that I realized I actually wasn't searching for work-life balance. What I was searching for was some way or excuse to have it all and not have to give anything up, no trade-offs, which is very much part of my personality. I just want it all. I have said how many times I don't like the word or. I want the word and. Like I don't want to have to make a trade-off. I don't want to have to give it up. But when it comes down to sleep, you really are giving up a lot if you don't choose sleep. So I think step one, as we always say, is awareness. And you need to hold yourself accountable for, am I really trying to prioritize sleep, or am I not understanding the cost of giving up sleep, which is, I think, what we have spent most of this conversation trying to talk about, because many people don't understand the cost. I don't think you and I have understood the cost of giving up sleep. So that's step one. And then I would say my favorite next step is mindfulness. So you can start by telling yourself you want to get more sleep. And I know that sounds really like, ridiculous, but I mean, sometimes it is starting with saying, I actually do want sleep. And so sometimes I just have to tell myself, I do want to get sleep. And it helps my body kind of get that cue of like, oh, yes, we do want to sleep. Tell yourself it's time to relax. You are in charge of yourself as much as sometimes we'd like to think we're not. And there are things like body scan meditation or progressive muscle relaxation where you start to focus on like an area of your body. Maybe it's your toes, maybe it's your head, maybe it's somewhere in the middle. And you just start to kind of go muscle by muscle and say, okay, I'm going to let go of this now. I'm holding tension here. I'm going to relax this now. And that as you're lying down, don't do it when you're standing up. That doesn't work. I've tried. When you don't do progressive muscle relaxation when you're on a walk, it doesn't work.
You may be trying to do too many things at one time.
It's not efficient. It's just, it's just ignorant.
So I think after that one, a good thing, and you talked about a little bit earlier about how like everything in the world seems to operate at its own rhythm, at its own beat. And we've talked a lot about how our brains appreciate a pattern. They appreciate the predictability of things. So setting a consistent bedtime is really important because of those circadian rhythms. That is a great way to regulate that and to help your body begin to understand like, oh, we're moving into bedtime time. And if it's consistent at that time, your body gets into that rhythm.
Yeah, one of the things that best supports your circadian rhythm is morning sunlight. This was some of the best advice I got before traveling overseas 11 and a half hours into the future, where night is day and day is night. Some of the best advice I was given was when you wake up in the morning, immediately get sun on your head. Get a room that has a balcony, go outside, do whatever it is you need to do, but make sure you get sun on your head in the morning because that will help you adjust to the circadian rhythm. And so sometimes as I have my coffee, I will go wander outside to look at the birds in the morning and just kind of help get some sun on my head. It's easy, especially in the summer in Texas, to avoid being outside. But
For sure.
it's important because it helps anchor your body clock in, oh, this is morning time.
Yeah. And I mean, we have Ollie, so he gets me up at like
You get
6:30,
the
7
sun on your
o'clock,
head
and
there.
I
Yeah.
immediately get the sun. But I do wonder, like, if people who do have pets who require to like be put on a leash and taken for walks, if what that does for the body.
Yeah. People who brag about being able to have caffeine at any time of the day and they sleep well anyways.
Yeah, that's probably not great.
I mean, I don't know how well rested they really are, but it definitely impacts sleep. And, you may be able to sleep, but the quality of your sleep might be not as good.
Correct.
And so you need to limit your caffeine later in the day. So the half life of caffeine averages about 5 to 7 hours.
So you should avoid caffeine 5 to 7 hours before you're trying to go to
Well,
bed.
that's the half-life of it, right? So, like, I think just thinking about how long it takes for it to cut in half. Um, so, just thinking about how much you're taking in and,
Be
uh, uh,
mindful.
I definitely try not to have coffee in the afternoon because I know that for me, it sticks around and
It's
makes an
not setting you up for success later on in the day.
makes an impact, and
The
then
next
that
one,
impacts my husband.
and we don't upset the ace.
We don't. We don't.
The next one is my favorite, a cool bedroom.
Yes.
Research shows an approximate bedroom temperature of 60 to 67 degrees Fahrenheit, that's 15 to 19 degrees Celsius, is often recommended for adults. And that's because,
60. Wow,
yeah,
that feels cold.
love it.
I
I
mean,
love it.
60 is really cold.
Uh,
On a,
y-
okay, Ace, I know you're listening and you're going to re-listen to this a number of times as you edit, but 60 is too expensive for the Texas heat.
It's true. It really does get expensive, but I think it's understanding that as our bodies are going through these cycles, our temperatures are also going up and down. So trying to get it to where the room is at a consistent temperature to allow your body to regulate in the most best way. And for me personally, this is a huge thing because if I am too hot, I wake up and I am uncomfortable and it takes me a long time to get back to sleep because I have to get cooled off. So,
If you're
like
still
a
doing
cool
like
room,
flannel or jersey sheets in the summer in a warm climate, like th- that would be the first thing that I would start to
but
swap
that's
out.
only if you're not getting good sleep.
I mean, maybe you just like to sleep hot. I don't know.
Some Look, what we are talking about is the averages, right? It's
Yes,
not
it's true.
there are
It's true.
outliers and everything.
That's true. Reduce evening light, especially blue light. Oh, what's blue light, Chris?
It's our phones, it's our
Ah,
TVs, it's the screens in our lives.
yes, all the screens of our lives. So goes the
Oh, that's a good
hourglass
one.
through the
Yeah.
sands of time.
Yeah.
Yes. I did
True.
watch that soap for a while.
And
um,
it's stuck with you.
Well, I mean, the thing is, you could pick it up years later, and I think it's the same story over and over again. They're still happening, but really, the blue light does. I hate to acknowledge this one because I like to read on my phone and all these things, but it does actually reduce the quality of sleep. Um, Exercise regularly.
Well, and
It-
I think this goes back to again that rhythm, our bodies like store energy. Like that's what we do. We eat, we drink, like all of these things and they create energy within us. And so it's important that even if it's just like a walk around the block, if it's a hard workout session, like you need to exert energy because your body is storing it up just through our daily
Just
existence.
don't do it like right before bed because
Correct.
that gets your heart rate too elevated and it needs time sometimes to come back down, and so then you're not going to sleep well if you do that right before you go to bed. So if you're like, I'm not a morning person, so I'm going to work super late and then I'm going to hit the gym and come home, take a shower, go to bed, probably not the best routine. Avoid alcohol as a sleep aid. Oh my gosh. How many times have you had, that glass or bottle of wine and then you fall asleep really well and then you wake up and you cannot get back to sleep?
Yeah. I think this is like where it's really important to understand those different levels of sleeping because it may help you fall asleep faster, but it reduces the sleep quality, especially within that REM cycle. So it's really important that you are mindful of the
Mhm.
beverages and food you are consuming before you try to go lay your head on that pillow each night.
Yes. And clear your brain. That's another
Easier
way
said than done.
to help you. So, okay, how do you clear your brain? If you're like, okay, thanks. That was really helpful. A brain dump on paper, might that be like journaling?
So we're just relabeling it something.
Uh-huh. It gives you your prefrontal cortex permission to stop rehearsing tomorrow's to-do list, that argument you're having with somebody,
Yeah.
like you get it out. And that way you can move on. And so it reduces your nighttime rumination. Um, People have given the advice of like, don't go to bed angry. They've also given the advice of like, just sleep on it and you'll feel better in the morning. Like, I think you have to figure out what the right, like balance is for you, because sometimes if you're really tired, you're not in a position to argue fair. So you need to be careful about who you're expressing these things to. But also, like, I can absolutely note, particularly early on in my marriage, when things were just a little more intense for us. We were younger, we were kids, just learning how to fight fair. And you would just be so angry about something, like irrationally so, and you'd be so tired, and then you would fall asleep and you'd wake up in the morning and like it really, you'd feel ridiculous about it. Like it really wasn't as big of a deal. The world wasn't ending after all.
Yeah. But I also do think like it depends on like
You
what
folded the towels wrong.
I do think though, that, like these are all things that are very personal and like as you, however you find like you process things. Because I know there was a time where Frank and I were not together, and I would have nightmares. Like my brain trying to process through that stuff was like it. It interrupted my sleep, and so it's like you have to find the balance, like you said, of being true to yourself while also trying to like set yourself up for success, because it's a fine balance and
That's
like
why a journal is sometimes helpful. You
yeah,
can like work through it a
put it
little
out.
and then put it down and go, I'm going to pick this back up later. I also like will just say, I didn't understand this before. And so it's something I've had to really work on. But like it is a skill to be able to set something aside and come back to it later. That is not just a personality trait. That is a muscle that you build. And it is something that if you are not good at doing, you actually can get better at doing, but you must go through the hard part in order to build the muscle. So if it feels uncomfortable, then it probably means you're in the middle of growth. Um,
So that's
so
why it's important to have a piece of paper and a pen next to
put
your
it
bed.
down and like tell yourself what's the worst thing that could happen. And like I think that's a good way of putting into context like how you make the decision. And then reserve your bed for sleep. Oh my goodness, I used to sit with my laptop in bed and work. What a dumb idea.
I think that's relatable. I also I mean, I remember having a TV in my room and watching TV from
we
bed.
we have a TV in our room. We never turn it on ever.
Right. Same. That's how we are too. We have a TV in our room. The only time we turn it on is if like one of us is in the other room trying, like if I'm working
I
and
don't even know how to turn it on. Like honestly, I don't like I'm not sure where anything is. I don't know how to turn it on. I think the last time I watched TV on it might have been like when I was on bed rest after like having a procedure. So um yeah, it's yeah.
but the power of not like allowing your bed to be a space where it is just meant to sleep,
Yeah.
because your brain does begin to associate things. And interestingly enough, like you and I had this conversation about like our recording spaces whenever we started recording the
Yeah.
podcast. We wanted to be mindful about that so that we could be in the right state of mind. And so it's the same for bed. Like when you go to your bed, your body should be winding down and
Yeah.
saying, we're going to fall asleep, not, oh, we're going to catch up on insert whatever show you want to watch as you're
Yeah.
going to bed.
I will say, and maybe this is part of why I sleep so terribly. One of the reasons in when I travel, like I tend to watch um uh like TV shows or something when I am traveling and away from Ace. Never when I'm with him, but when I'm away from him and I'm like trying to fall asleep, it's the worst idea because then I'm like, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, why am I still watching this show? Like I'm never gonna fall asleep like this. So,
Yeah.
but when I'm at home, I will say I do read. And I do use my phone. I put it on the dark mode, but I do read from my phone to fall asleep. And I actually find that if I'm reading a good book, um, it will help me like set aside whatever it is that I'm thinking about so that I can fall asleep. But also if you're reading a book that like has a level of intensity about it, then sometimes, I'm like, oh, yeah, it's a page turner and I can't fall asleep. So,
Right.
like, sometimes
It can have the
thinking,
opposite effect.
yeah, just being mindful about those things. Certainly don't doom scroll if you're struggling to sleep while
Yeah.
you're in bed because it's not going to help you.
Yeah, I would say whatever you can do. I try to set up like a bedtime routine. So, like when I am getting ready for bed, I take a shower before I go to bed because, I've been about the city
Yes.
and I don't want to take that to bed with me.
Muy importante.
Yes. So like I'll take a shower, I will turn on my audiobook, sometimes not. And then when I go to bed, like I truly try to not touch any more technology. I try to lay there. There are times where it's like that ruminating does happen and I'm like, "Oh, I need to be sure I do this. Oh, I didn't do this." And so because I read and heard like keeping a piece of paper by the side of bed to write that stuff down so that your brain will let it go. Like once it has been captured, the quicker your brain is to say, "Okay, we're not going to forget it because it's been captured
Yes,
somewhere."
except that I love to write things down on a list and never come back to them. It feels so good to let them go. And then they bite me later because I didn't do it. But I will say distraction is a great technique for me, like to then go read something that's distracting if from all of those like ruminating thoughts. Um, I do find that helpful. I also think like there are certain like lotions and stuff that are scented in a calm way, and putting those on kind of helps. Like when you're getting ready for bed, helps you like signal to yourself this is the routine. They do say that having a bedtime routine and sticking to that routine is something that can really help because you're signaling to your body physically, hey, this is what we do before we go to bed. And I do note that those things are very helpful.
Yeah, they are. I truly believe in them. I just need to get better at my consistent bedtime. I
Yeah,
struggle with that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Ace keeps us fairly regulated, but the um I like to buck the rhythm. I like to
Yeah. I'll create my own rhythm, thank you.
you know me. I like to like I don't always like to follow the same pattern. I like to take a different way to get somewhere just because it's a little more fun and engaging and
Yeah,
I get bored, but with the time routine maybe like being bored is a good idea because
correct.
then you can sleep. You
Well, and
can
after
sleep
this
better.
conversation, you now know how important sleep is, and maybe
Yeah.
bucking the system at bedtime isn't the right time to be
Maybe it's not
starting
the
that.
right time. I mean, come on, don't like n don't allow yourself to have, like, the trash bins in your brain full, because then you can't enjoy life at the fullest, and that's really the whole point of everything that we talk about and the journey that we are on is how do we get the most out of life? How do we spend the most amount of time we can enjoying it as much as possible, and sleep is a way to do that.
It's very important.
It is. So, thank you for having this conversation with me about sleep. Sometime at some point in the future, we'll talk about dreams a little bit more and
Yeah,
like analyzing those. But for now, let's just focus on how to best create those dreams. And share with us. We'd love to know from you. What do you do to help you sleep better? Depending on what platform you're listening on, you can leave a comment. You can reach out to us via email at connect@chrisandjenitm.com. You can text us at 940-278-8129.
and like I said earlier, we are on all the social platforms, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, under Chris and Jen, ITM. ITM stands for in the morning. So feel free to like, follow, subscribe, share, do all of the things on those platforms. It helps us know that people are listening, and it helps our content reach people who want to connect with it. So we would love for you to join this community that we're building. And yeah, Jen, I so appreciate the conversation around sleep. Like I knew it was important, but like it's
Wow,
more
I had
important
no
than I
idea
thought.
how important it
Yeah.
is. So, well, until next time, be kind to yourself, to one another, and make it a great week.
Bye, everyone.